This is the video of University of Staffordshire Library's Reflective Writing Workshop. By the time you've watched this video, you will have an understanding of what reflection is and why it's useful. You will know of some reflective models that you can use to structure your writing, and you will understand the features of good reflective writing. This video is not going to cover how to get started with your reflective assignment or how to write critically. We have specific workshops and therefore videos on those topics. To start off then, what is reflective writing? Reflection is when you give serious thought to a situation that you've experienced. You question it, you investigate, and you action plan. There are a number of ways that you might reflect. You might write a diary or a journal. You might have a discussion with colleagues. You might do self-assessments or create a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats within a situation. You might be asked to write a formal reflective essay, and that might be using a model to structure it. Whichever method you use to reflect, it will help you to encourage investigation of best practice, enables you to look at how you could improve, and about thinking about how you can be better at what you can do. It helps you to learn, to be self-critical, and highlights links between theory and practice. This slide is an opportunity to have a go at some reflection yourself. The image shows a collage made by a geography student at the University of Staffordshire in 2014 as part of a piece of research by Chalice. The research was looking at the impact of creating collages to explore problem solving. Have a look at the image, the collage on the screen, and answer the questions. So first of all, what do you see? You can pause the video to give yourself some time. And then when you've identified what you can see, think about what you think it means. So answering both of those questions, you have described what's in the image, and then you're starting to analyse what it is, what you think it means. All students doing this will have different answers. You will all see different things. You will all have different interpretations, and that's absolutely fine. We will all interpret it differently. I'm going to explain what the student said it means, and you can then compare that to your answer. The student said, "I was reluctant to do this. I put on some music that I like. I had to have something else in my head, otherwise it would have seemed like a waste of half an hour. I made a river there, and then the string follows the route. The dots and maps had a meaning for me. I made the dots into arrows, and each arrow gets bigger. That's me deciding on a line, choosing a direction to go in life, and discarding the things that didn't have meaning for me. As I was trying to do it, I found myself interested in the way I was selecting things, how I discard some things, like I'm someone who tries, and I try to persuade other people to do this too, to move on, to select a way forward and put the other possibilities, which we've decided not to do, onto one side, discard them and move on. I realised it was more about the process of how I solve problems than a particular problem. I discard the irrelevant stuff more than other people do, I think, and then I don't worry about it. It was like acting out something about myself. I had to decide and select what side of the paper I would keep and which bit to discard or hide. It was all about selection. And then this became quite pleasurable when I had some idea of where I was going with it. These two piles are the things I didn't want. I stuck them there. It's only stuff I didn't want. It might be important to someone else. I saw the solving problem part was about discarding what you don't need and assembling a way forward, only in the abstract, honing down and selecting to get somewhere. I feel strong. It's something that works for me, so I was mirroring what I do. When I got the idea of the map or journey, I really did enjoy it. At this point, the researcher asked, most people throw away those discards, but you've stuck them on the collage. Was there a reason for that? The student replied, I suppose it's because it's not foolproof, the process of deciding to keep the discards. They are worth keeping. That's my readiness to admit if I'm wrong or go back and look at things again, other options. I think I'm visualising something, the process of keeping the discard, something about myself I hadn't put into words before. So now you're aware of what the student thought about it, about why they created it. How effective do you think this collage is at representing their thoughts? Whatever your answer, you've had a go at evaluating how effective this collage was at representing those thoughts. By completing that activity, you've just had a go at these three things. You have described, you've analysed and evaluated. And all academic reflection involves description, analysis and evaluation. The description provides your reader with details of what happened so they can understand it. The analysis explains why and how it happened the way it did and provides evidence to back that up. And the evaluation is your judgment about whether the options chosen were effective, about the theories and evidence that were used. There are a variety of reflective models that you can use to structure your reflective writing. They all require you to describe, analyse and evaluate. Over the next 3 slides, we'll show you 3 different models. There are others available, but these are 3 of the most common. The first one is the Driscoll model. It's split into 3 sections: what, so what, and now what. The what section is where you can describe what happened and indicate the outcome, providing the details that your reader needs to understand. The so what is for your analysis, explaining why it happened this way and what could have been different, what options were available, and you're using academic evidence to demonstrate that. And then the now what section is where you can make a judgment about whether this situation went well or not overall, highlighting the positives and negatives that occurred within it, and then going on to explain what you've learnt from it and how you plan to improve. The next model is the Gibbs model, and as you can see from the diagram, this has got more sections, but this is quite clear about what you need to do within each section because the headings tell you what to do. For example, the first section, it says description. This is where you say what happened and indicate the outcome, give your reader the details that they need to understand. The second section, you explore your feelings. How did you feel when this was happening? And how did that impact on others around you, or vice versa? The evaluation section is your evaluation about whether it went well overall or not. Indicate positives and negatives. And then the analysis is where you can explore why it happened like it did and how things worked, what options were available to you, and what might have changed the outcome. Your conclusion section summarises what happened, but it's also an opportunity to kind of make it really clear why this situation was worthy of reflection and what else could you have done. The action plan is where you can explore what you've learnt, what you need to learn now, and exactly how you're going to achieve that learning. What will you do in future now that you've had this experience? The third example is Kolb's experiential learning cycle, which has got 4 sections. Concrete experience is where you describe what happened. Your analysis occurs across 2 sections: your reflective observation, where you explain why things happened in the way that they did, and then the abstract conceptualization, where you consider what experts say about this situation. The last section, the active experimentation, is where you can explore what you've learnt and how you're going to put that into practice in the future. Now, this slide has an example using Driscoll. It's a very short example. You will need a lot more detail in yours. You'll need to include a lot more words, of course, but just to give you a demonstration of what should be happening in each of those sections. So the what section explains what happened in the situation. One team member didn't do their fair share in the group work. Everyone else had to do more as a result. The person who didn't do the work said they couldn't attend the meetings, but in the end it was uncomfortable and everyone ended up arguing. In your so what section, in your analysis, you can explore what makes groups work and why. What's best practice so that groups can avoid this issue happening. You can explore theory about group work. You can explore published research on group work. You can then make critical points about that research. You can explore how did your group's behaviour compare against best practice. You will need to have citations to academic evidence throughout this section. Your now what section allows you to make an evaluation. Was this good overall or not? Now that you know how groups should work and what individuals can do to make them work, what are you going to do differently next time you're in a group? What have you learnt from this experience and what can you do to improve in the future? As you go through your course, you will be expected year on year to add more to your academic writing, and being critical is one of those things that you can start to do. Being critical demonstrates your critical thinking skills. It demonstrates that you're not just accepting what you've read as being true, you've gone out of your way to demonstrate that it is true and to ask questions about it. Doing this will help increase your marks. Now, we do have a critical writing workshop, which has its own video, so we'd strongly recommend that you watch that. But examples of critical comments could be related to the age, the date that a piece of evidence was published. It might demonstrate your point really, really well, but if it was out of date, you might want to comment on that and then justify why you've used an older piece of research. Alternatively, a piece of research might demonstrate your point brilliantly, but the sample size within that piece of research might be really small. You may not be able to apply that to a wider population or to a wider group. It may not be statistically significant. So that will require a critical comment to demonstrate that you understand that this research may not be robust enough. Now, this slide's a bit negative, but it's a good idea to be aware of the problems, because then you can use this as a list of things to avoid doing. The first problem is that reflective writing can be too descriptive. It's telling the story throughout all of the sections, but there's no analysis, there's no evaluation. The scope is often too broad. There's always a lot to reflect on in any of these scenarios that you might experience, but you need to pick one or two things so you can do those in depth. The introduction of the reflection states that a model is going to be used, and then there is no obvious use of that model. If evidence or theories and legislation, official documents, etc. are not referred to, that's not going to support your reflection. If the assignment kind of fizzles out when you need to get to your evaluation and your action plan, that's not going to help you either. Make sure that those things have strength in relation to the analysis that you've carried out. And finally, a bit of a big one, it doesn't adhere to the module learning outcomes. Your lecturers will have asked you to do this reflection in order to meet the module learning outcomes. So keep them next to you when you're writing, so you can keep checking that you're following those. A more positive way of looking at this then, these are positive things seen in really good reflections. The description is succinct and what happened is explained clearly without using too many words. The analysis focuses on one or two issues experienced within the situation and doesn't try to cover everything. The analysis explores what happened in detail. It explains why and how things happened. It compares options. It explores how outcomes could be changed and what impacts actions have had. If a model is used, it then structures that assignment correctly. And academic evidence is referred to throughout. That might be policy, legislation, or research evidence, and these are referred to by the writer. The Reflections Action Plan sets out specifically what's going to be done to achieve further learning, and the assignment is aligned to the module learning outcomes. To sum up, then, being reflective means analysing a situation or event by looking in detail at it and learning from it. This ensures that next time you'll be better equipped to deal with a similar situation. But it's important to remember that when you're doing this for academic purposes, you need to use research evidence and official evidence to back this up, and therefore citations and a reference list will be essential. We hope this video has helped you to get started with your reflective writing. And don't forget to explore our other workshops and other workshop videos.